Hello and welcome back to the show, Toni. It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. I know I can't wait to get to our deep dive about surrender because I just am really looking forward. We know each other through social media. She's been on the show before and she's been going through some big stuff. And I feel like there's so much to learn when you yourself go through the big stuff and then also when other people go through the big stuff because there you want to encourage and be there for other people and all that. So right now we're going to get to know you a little bit better. What's a current show that you're watching that you like?
Well, I was just watching Love on the Spectrum, which my cousins have been telling me to watch, which I've been really liking. But if I'm going to have to pick my favorite show that I've been watching recently, it
Okay.
will always be America's Got Talent. This season they're doing the Fantasy League. So basically like the best of the best come back to compete.
Oh,
And it's really, really great. So yeah, 10 out of 10 recommend if you don't watch America's Got Talent. I think anybody listening to this podcast would really like the shows like America's Got Talent because it just shows the hustle in people. It's like people who are
right.
just about to break up, like, to give up, and then they get their big break and they're so talented and passionate and inspiring. And you hear about these stories where they like went through it and now they're like growing through it. And it's just so special. So that's why I love that show.
Right.
And then I also just think people are fascinating. So
Right. And then how do people get so good at like one particular thing? And maybe they're good at lots of things, but however they show up on this show, it's kind of mind-boggling sometimes.
yeah, I mean it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of practice, you know? It's
Right,
just
right.
it's crazy.
Oh my
Crazy.
goodness. Yes, well, that's a good recommendation. I'll keep that one in mind. What your biggest crush when you were growing up? Who
Uh,
is your crush?
so in 2 weeks I'm hosting an Usher party, I mean Super Bowl party. And he was my if you don't know that Usher is doing the halftime show for the
Right.
Super Bowl and he was my biggest crush in the seventh grade. I never got not in I never got in trouble. I was always a good kid. Never ever got in trouble except until the seventh grade when I decided to write I love Usher on all the desks and I got detention. Yeah, that was fun. But that's how much I loved him, and I've loved him since, the beginning of time, since he came out with My Way. If you guys know,
Oh my
Usher.
gosh. Was that kind of
Yeah,
his first hit song?
that was like one of his very. It was his first single, probably
Okay,
back. I was like
wow.
1999, probably. I'm not. Yeah, I should know the exact date, but I don't.
Well, no,
Um,
that's so
yeah.
fun because we just, that we get to know you in this really playful kind of different way. And the fact that you loved him so much that you were willing to break out of your quote unquote good girl
And it's funny
role.
because like I was so in love that I didn't even think that that was bad. It's like I knew you shouldn't write on the desk, but like I was just like in my daydream, like, and I happened to not, it's not like we had the same desk every time. So it's like by the time, like, I got through the desk, they were like, Tony Ann, like, stop it.
Oh my gosh, that is so fun. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
such a fun story. I love that. What's something that you're the most afraid of? And this is like more on the irrational side. I mean, we're not trying to get really deep and dark here.
Oh, snakes. I can't even talk about them. I mean, snakes and needles, they're both really petrifying. Although
Oh,
needles, I've been able to not be as afraid of because I've come a long way. I used to have crazy panic attacks and I would
okay.
need people to come with me to get like blood drawn and stuff like that.
Right.
But I've come a long way from there. And I think it's because like I've had no choice but to like get my blood drawn every year for just preventative things or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but like snakes, ew, no, no, thank you. I
Do
don't
you
want to
think it?
expose myself. I'm not trying to expose myself.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
like I'm scrolling on social media and someone happens to have one and it's just, and there needs to be a warning. It's just they're just gross.
Like
Yeah.
spoiler alert warning, there will be an snake. You don't want to hear
Yeah.
the word.
I can't even hear the word. Yeah, that's how much I'm afraid of them. They're so
Okay,
nasty.
and when you think of that, did you have like a weird experience as a kid or just the way they move?
No, I honestly I think it's just the way they move. 'Cause I've actually had crazy experiences as a kid with needles, which I learned when I got older why I was afraid of them because I had to get when I was little, I had to get surgery and couldn't
Oh,
find my blood. I was like 3 years old. And apparently they just were like procking me and poking me like to get the blood and like, but I don't remember it. But then like
right.
years later, like when I watched my sister they're like, my sister's younger than me. They're like, let her go first. So that way, because if Toni and she's older, like if she sees it, if the younger sister sees it, she's gonna freak out. Well, no, I saw it, I booked it. I went straight to the elevator. I was like, no, this is not happening. And then my parents and I got older, they're like, yeah, no, when you were younger, they couldn't find your blood, and so they kept poking you, and it was
Uh,
so sad. I'm like, well, no wonder why I'm afraid of needles. So
okay,
the
that would
needles
make
thing is
sense. Yeah.
justifiable. The needles
Yeah.
sphere is justifiable. The snake sphere, I just think they're gross.
Okay. And yeah, and I'm a little bit with you when it comes to the movement. It just seems like you shouldn't be able to move that way as part of it.
Mm-mm.
And the other part is, and I don't even want to know the answer to this. I'm sure I could find out very quickly. Which ones are okay and which ones are not okay. So I just lump them all in the they're not
Oh yeah.
okay category, like poisonous versus, whatever.
Ugh.
It's like I really don't want to memorize that. And so
Yeah.
for me, they're just all not okay.
Yeah, they're disgusting. I'm sorry, I can't even talk about it. I can't even like think of it. Now they're gonna be, oh God. Okay.
Okay, let's go. Let's go to a
Next
much
topic.
better topic. Better topics ahead. A random fact most people would not know about you.
Oh, I have a good one. This is a good one because I've been asked this before and I couldn't like think of anything. And then afterwards I'm like, oh my God, that's like really fun. So I'm a registered dietitian. That's by trade. That's my career.
Right.
I've been a dietitian for over 10 years and I have my own private practice. But before I had my private practice, I worked for a supermarket. I'm
Ooh,
located in New
wow.
York. So I was their retail dietitian where I did a bunch of things. One of the things I did was I helped raise a ton of money for the hungry and a ton of
Wow.
donations for the hungry. And the company that I worked for basically chose people from their store because there was people, there's multiple different supermarkets with this name. And basically they chose someone to be on a Cheerios box. So I wish I had it with me. It's in the other room. So
Oh,
basically, and it's pretty cool that they do this. They partner with General Mills, and every year, the top stores that feed the most, like to get the most donations or the most money for the hungry or whatever, get selected by their team to be on a Cheerios box. So that's my fun fact. I was on the back of a Cheerios box.
that is really a cool little claim to fame right there.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
is so
yeah,
sweet. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, how fun
That
is
was super
that?
cool.
And
Mhm.
of course, you saved or mom saved the
Oh
Cheerio
no,
box.
yeah, but it's funny. Like my family still has it, but I have mine in actually like they gifted it to me after. It's in like a clear box. It has like
Oh,
it almost looks like a trophy, but it's the actual Cheerios box just enclosed. It's like a limited. It was like a limited edition for
mm.
but people all over the state were able to get it. Like all my
Oh my
cousins and family
gosh,
members. Yeah,
so fun. That is
yeah,
fun. Very
yeah.
good. Love that. All right. So, what advice would you give your 10-year-old self? You're a little young. I know you mentioned seventh grade when you loved Usher, when you fell in love with Usher. Go back a couple more years to your 10-year-old self. You're starting to kind of become a little bit aware of
Yeah,
what's coming down the line. And you start thinking that maybe start to think a little bit too much about what other people might think of you. So, what
yeah.
advice would you give your 10-year-old self?
It would be to just be as you are. Like you don't need to change anything because that's actually where I started. And I talked about this on our other podcast. I know we're going to be talking about some different
Right.
things today, but the last time you had me on the show, like I talked about where, I spent most of my life trying to be thinner and lose weight and trying to be worthy of love and acceptance through
Mhm.
changing my physical appearance. And the youngest I can remember thinking that I needed to do that was 9 years old. So
Oh my
it was
gosh.
10 years old where I really started to go hard with like exercising and trying to think, oh, I shouldn't eat that or I should cut out this or eat that, whatever. And that was 10. That's which is kind of it's
Wow.
sad to think. And I know it's
Yes.
happening younger and younger.
Oh,
So if I could talk to my 10-year-old self, it would just be like, you're perfect as you are. You don't need to change anything. You know, just be yourself.
yes. That's such good advice. And don't we wish we could go back to our 10-year-old self and kind of just, speak in their ear and have them believe it, have them
Yeah.
believe it. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that is fantastic. And I do love, though, even though I'm sorry that your 10-year-old and even your 9-year-old self was feeling all those things, I do love that you've channeled all of that and more into your life's work. Your
Yeah.
life's work, your passion, your purpose
Yeah.
is speaking into probably men and women, but particularly women,
Mm-hmm.
to tell us, just summarize a little bit of what you do. Yeah, you're a registered dietitian.
Yeah, so I'm a registered dietitian who teaches people how not to diet. So, because I learned really quickly that restriction isn't the answer, it's part of the problem. And I spent my entire life trying to, cut out this and exercise out that. And I lived in the extremes and it was no fun. And it was just like a black hole. No matter what I did, I was never happy enough, never thin enough, never fit enough, or whatever it was. And it was
Right.
all for the wrong reasons, too. So now I help people find balance in their eating habits because it is still important to nourish your body. It is still important to exercise regularly, but it needs to come from a place of love rather than a place of hate. And learning more
Ooh,
about like body acceptance. You can want to change your body and that's fine, but doing it from a place of you get to, not you have to or you should. So
yes.
it's similar messaging that I think others have, but I just have a different energy behind it. And I think that's why it resonates and helps so many people because it truly gets to the root of where they've been struggling for so long.
Right.
I do that because I know how it feels to not be there. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I just want people to live happier and healthier lives and to do things beyond just live their whole life just like trying to be thinner or taking up
Right,
less space.
right. Yes. I love that. I really love that. It's such an important message. Um, you know, in this day and age, yes. I mean, I think social media has really amplified everything that young girls go through. And I'm sure
Yeah.
young boys too, but since we're not boys, we can't speak into that space quite as easily or quite as well. But I really applaud the work you're doing. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Really
Thank you.
wonderful. All right, so now's our deep dive. We're doing a series on surrender, and just the word alone is so interesting. So if you would please tell us a time that you share with us a time that you had to surrender, what it looked like, how it felt.
Mm. Well, this is actually the first time I'm being interviewed on a podcast and speaking about this experience. So I do
Okay,
want to just share that however this comes out,
that's
it's
hey.
raw.
Well, you know what? I love that. And to
Yeah.
me, there's nothing more important than you showing up in this moment as
Yeah.
yourself, however that might unfold.
Yeah. So I'm in it right now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
100% in it right now. Um, a few months ago at this point, 6 or 7 months ago, um, I mean, for a while, I should say, for about a year or so, I was really running from the truth, which was that I decided, to grow my business and hire a team, and I had a full staff. And at first, it was amazing and it was working really well. But then just financially, things just became tighter and tighter and tighter. I probably made some poor business decisions, invested in people that were not worth the money that I spent, unfortunately, which is actually, I know people experience that a lot. I actually
Mm-hmm.
hadn't, that was like my first time really experiencing making investments that didn't promise on what they said they were going to deliver on,
Mm-hmm.
but a hard lesson. Um, so basically like financially things were really, really tight. And I kept trying to keep up. I kept trying to pretend like it was going to be okay and I was going to get out of it. But it really wasn't. And so one of the very first things I had to do with my surrender was let my team go, let my staff go. And they were
Mm-hmm.
all incredible. They were all amazing. They didn't deserve it. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a
Oh
business owner.
gosh. Yeah.
And but like I couldn't pay my rent. I couldn't put food on the table. Like I was making sacrifices here and there to try to make it make sense for them. But then it's like I really had to sit with myself and be like, why do I still feel like it's okay for me to suffer, but everyone around me is being taken
Mm,
care of at the sacrifice of the business that I built for the past few years. I'm just going to allow it to just, I guess, I don't know, like it was supporting other people, but it wasn't allowing it to support myself. But then it got so bad where I couldn't have done either anyway. So I had no
right,
choice. So I really like I was pushed against a wall. So that was the first thing. Um, then my partner, which I still can't have a hard time like even believing what happened, but my partner at the time basically just betrayed my trust, if I can just say it in the
okay,
most
sure.
simplest way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was something that I could have forgiven if I really wanted to, and if I chose to, but I would have been settling within myself and my worth and everything that I talk about.
Right,
So I had to end a 5-year relationship,
right,
um, which I had to kind of surrender to that because it even if that it's like whatever happened happened to help me to see what was truly going on, basically, to really
mm,
like to give in to this, like this isn't your forever person, even though you thought it was,
okay,
you
right,
know? So that was really hard. And then like long story short, I had moved from, when business was doing well, I was living in a luxury apartment and I was making, my rent was really, really high. So I made a sacrifice and moved to a smaller place to save money on rent. But really what I knew what I should have been doing for, last year before I did that was move back with my parents, but I was resisting it for so long. I'm 33 years old. I've
right,
been independent since I'm 18. My parents are amazing and very supportive, but I like my independence and I built that
right.
and I had to let my I honestly I had to let my ego go. And basically,
Mm,
long story short, I was gonna move somewhere else again. Once now I didn't need as big of a space because it was just me, not me and my partner, blah blah blah. And that was like I think that was another moment of surrender for me because I really had to just admit that, and this is hard to say out loud, and
mm-hmm,
I know people are gonna be like, "But you didn't," but, like, I did, like, I had to admit that I failed, and
mm,
I know that I am going to recover from it, and that
right,
failure is feedback, but I failed,
right.
and that's okay, and that's another thing to surrender, to know that it's okay to fail, because I was trying so hard for so long not to fail, and I
Ah.
almost just created it anyway. Whereas, like, if I woulda just, like, listened to all of the red flags and all of the things, like, it's okay if you don't have it figured out yet. Like, it's
Right,
okay to slow down, like, you don't have to this might be a future goal, this might not be a right now goal, and that's okay. And it took me so long, so now I'm finally after, a couple of years in my book, actually, I talk about bouncers and planters, and bouncers are like the second something is, like, off, they leave, like, they hard work
ah,
for them is, like, poison, like, "No,
right,
no, 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 no." Whereas, like, I'm a planter, so, like, the harder it is, the harder I try, like, "Let's go."
right,
So much so that it's, like, it's clearly not it doesn't matter how hard you try, this isn't a good fit, like, stop trying so hard. I'm a
right.
planter. So, like, I need to see things through and through, I need to be slapped in the face and thrown on the ground and stepped on. For me to realize, like, this isn't for you, like, move on. So yeah, so that is, where I'm at right now. That is my big surrender. That is currently what I'm in this moment.
Excuse me, I really appreciate the way that you are able to, one, talk about it so openly. So thank you for that. I mean, being vulnerable and transparent, I think are important things to be when you feel ready.
Yeah,
I think, when you're too in it, it's too hard to, you don't have quite enough hindsight to start, you're just at the very beginning baby stages of it all. I'm 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 in awe of how you are processing this, Toni, because you have like the major areas of your life, your business, your love, your living. I mean, those are huge, huge, and all pretty much at the same time.
yeah,
And the fact that you recognize all of that and you are already, I mean, you're feeling the feels for sure. You are already looking at it in such an intentional growth kind of a way. Like, this is not forever. This is just right now. Just so happened, it all happened pretty much at the same time. But
Yep.
so it's
Literally
like,
month after month. It was
oh
like boop, boop,
gosh,
boop.
oh my gosh. But look at you. I mean, you are just you radiate life and light and you know what I mean? I mean,
Thank you.
your ability to be so authentic, I think, is so helpful to all of us because it's
Mm.
very inspirational and it's very encouraging. And you talk about it in a way that I appreciate that you don't color it with shame.
Yeah. Well, because I think that has to do with the work I do with clients when it comes to their relationship with
Right,
food, because I work a lot on them with guilt and shame because it's not a helpful emotion at all.
right,
So I do know that where there are moments I've gotten caught in that for sure, but I'm able to get out of that quickly from the skills I
right,
learned with my disordered eating, so
right.
but yeah, because I could, yeah, I 100%, I could beat myself up for staying in a situation where, it wasn't perfect, but I just was okay with mediocrity. I mean, I lost my voice. I lost
Oh,
my spunk.
interesting.
I lost, yeah, like, and I still feel like I'm getting it back a little bit.
Right, right.
It's kind of like, it's so crazy because I say this to clients, but all the time, but it's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I just thinking about that today.
And it was like I was doing it all. I was a
Right.
girlfriend, I was a business owner, I was a stepmom, I was a entrepreneur, I was a human, I was a family
Yeah.
member of, I mean, when I tell you I literally did it all, I did it all, but I in that I didn't realize how much just because I can doesn't mean I should. Like I didn't realize how much I was pulling from the energy that's starting to come back, that creative energy that I'm starting to
Hmm.
flow. I feel like it's starting to come back because now I have the space for it to be there. Whereas like I
Right.
was filling up my time and energy with things that really weren't work were kind of pulling me out of
Ah,
alignment.
okay.
And I lost my inspiration. I lost my voice. I was doing the things, but I
Right.
wasn't really doing the things from a place of flow, which I really love to operate in.
Mm.
I was doing it from a place of like have to, and very similar to what I was expressing before with
Right.
body image stuff.
Right.
It's just interesting how our wounds kind of transfer. They don't always,
Hmm.
you know, fully heal. And I think that's what I'm learning. So I'm really deeping my surrender also on a positive note is I'm really surrendering into like personal development on steroids, but not in like once again, not in like a toxicity, like it's kind of
No.
crazy, like not in like I have to do this, but like in a this is going to only help benefit me in my future. Like if I don't heal, and I talk about it in my book, but like if I truly don't heal from certain wounds and like things, I will never break these patterns. Like I will stay
Right.
stuck in these patterns, and I'm really making it my responsibility to just take care of myself truly and fully in like the in any way that I know how. So like anything that feels like it's going to help heal me in some way, I'm going to do it.
Right. That's, yeah, I wish more people felt that need, that kind of that desire to want to I think of it, I've been thinking of it lately as living in full color as opposed to
Mm,
like when you change the transparency on a photo, like not
mhm.
all the colors there. It's you want to live in that full color, sort of maximizing, who you are. And I love that you said you are making it your responsibility because the better you are and the more healed you are, the more you can pour out into others. And I
Yeah.
really do believe that.
Yeah, definitely.
Remind
Definitely.
me the name of your book. We talked about it last time. Remind me the name so I can remind everybody else.
Sure. It's called Once Upon a Diet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Such a good
So
name.
ironically, and this is something I haven't been able to speak to yet because I'm still finding the words. because it's dedicated to my ex. But
Okay.
when things were well, like in the cover page, it's like, let me read it. I have it right here. Let me see. What did I say? I dedicated. It's dedication to all the boys at school who tease me about my weight, and to the men who didn't love me back. It's because of you I can lead by example and show people their weight doesn't determine their worth. And all my clients who trust me to help them heal their relationship with this book and allow me to write them, blah blah blah. Sorry, not to like. But then I wrote special thanks to my current partner who continues to show me what it truly means to be loved.
Oh,
And
well, that,
at the time, I
yeah,
think at the time it was factual. But the point
yeah.
is that the book is about the parallels between dieting, dating, and romantic relationships. And I've always been honest, even when I did my TEDx talk about how I can never really get the relationship thing down. like I just choose the wrong partners or whatever it was. And I had thought I had finally broken that. And then I
Right.
talked about the parallels in the book. And like now it's kind of like it's hard. That was another thing I think I had that was a shame thing, I think, for me. And I think that's
Mm.
probably something I'm still working through because I don't really know how to word it. I almost feel like if I wrote a book about it, I shouldn't have somehow ended up here again, you know?
Well, but is it again, or is it a stepping stone toward your future?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the one thing, and that's the other thing too. Like, I don't regret what happened at all. Honestly, like in the moment, like and this is just to the people listening, if you're really going through something, I, I heard people talking about this and I wanted to punch them. So I hear you if you want to punch me through the earphones, but like, I promise you one day, I'm still in it, guys. I'm still in it. I still have so much debt to pay off. I still have so much just like still like I was, for like keeping my head above water. Like I'm finally starting to see like I can swim again, but like for a
Right,
while I was drowning. Like so when I tell you when you're in it, it freaking sucks and you really start to feel like, is this truly gonna be my forever? Like you lose a lot of hope. You feel like absolute crap. But like I promise you, the what got me through was listening to podcasts of people and
mhm.
watching shows like America's Got Talent, right? And just like that reminder that like this doesn't last forever and you will get through it and it will get better and it actually will be better than you ever thought it would be. Like I truly believe I'm not there yet, you guys. Like
Right,
honestly, like I'm telling you, I'm in the thick of it right now. But I
right.
do feel like when other opportunity am I going to have to truly start over from ground zero? I understand I'm blessed. I have my family I can depend on, like, and not everybody might have that, but I do feel like, you know, you probably have more options and more choices than you think you do. And it's just a matter of letting go of parts of your ego and letting go of parts and admitting things are true and that surrendering that'll get you there.
Right,
And once you're there, now you're like, okay, like I can do this. I will do this. It
right,
requires time. It requires patience. It
right.
requires sacrifice. I haven't used a credit card in a year. It freaking hurts. It's admitting if you don't have the money, you don't can't pay for it. Like, and I'm not here to give financial advice. I'll tell you that. I don't. But it's like you have to remember like you're gonna have to experience life differently than
Mhm.
you have before if you truly want to live a different life.
Right, right. That's a really good point. You have to experience it differently. Well, I know you're in it. I totally get that. But, and I'm really excited for what you're going to bring with you into all the different areas of your life, where your next, place to where you decide to live, what you decide to do and choose to do with your love life, your business, how you're going to restructure it and just knock it out of the park. I know you
Thank
will,
you.
whatever that
Yeah.
might look like. And we're not talking
And
about,
that,
yeah, not everybody
yeah.
has to, earn the seven figures to have an
Well,
impact.
or even like one thing that I think was keeping me stuck for so long is I was like, God, just give me clarity. Just give me clarity. Just give me clarity. Just give me clarity. And actually what faith is going forward without clarity and just believing that it's gonna work out.
Ah,
So like I don't need I have I don't and I just talked about this on my podcast. I don't have clarity. I don't know what my next move is because I don't know if I want to do what I'm doing forever. And I know I don't want to do it in this way, but I don't know what the other way or new way looks like. I have no idea what that
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
so all I'm doing, and this is something, once again, so thank you for having me because I'm still like working through how I want to even
Sure.
present myself on podcasts now because I just feel like I'm shedding the layers of older versions of myself that I don't even really resonate with anymore. So when I come on
Mm,
podcasts and when I speak, like, I don't know what I'm speaking about yet. Like, I don't know what
mm.
I'm just talking. And the point is like, what I'm in right now is I'm rebuilding. And all
Oh,
I can tell you
yes.
is the only way I know how to rebuild is I don't even know what I'm building. I just know I'm building towards a better me, a stronger me, a more energized me, a more happier me, a more stable me, a more abundant me. Like I know the qualities of the person that I'm trying to become, but I don't know what that actually like that what does that person do? I really couldn't tell
Correct.
you. And I'm
Right.
staying open to that, and that's part of the surrender too. You know, just being
Yes.
open to, opportunities will flow to me, they will come. I will get clarity when I'm meant to see clarity, but maybe right now I'm really
Yeah.
just meant to heal. Maybe right now I'm just
Right.
meant to continue to explore what makes me feel good, and that's what I'm
Right.
choosing to do.
That's fantastic. Now, when it comes to your podcast, do you, and obviously it's around all the themes that you're talking about, our relationship with food and I'm assuming you parallel that with the dating side, like your book.
Mhm.
Will you be addressing some of this as well? Because I mean, I find it very inspirational and encouraging hearing you talk.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's kind of the direction of where the podcast is going, is more, about just personal development in general.
Mm-hmm.
I had an expert on talking about, like, financial wellness. I'm having someone, next week who's a life coach. Um, I've had, and that's the thing, like, I'll probably always talk and relate it back to nutrition because that is what
Mm-hmm.
I know and what I don't wanna ever that's still super important, what people still need, so they
Right.
need to heal their relationship with food in their body. But what I think I wanna talk about more is what's beyond that. Once you heal your relationship with food in your body, what does that mean for you? How does the world open up? What are the
Right.
possibilities? Or if you're in the middle of a transition or you're feeling stuck. I do want to be that beacon of light for people. I do want to be the inspiration
Yes.
for people. And so my podcast now and I took like a break because I was going through so much and I was trying so
Right.
hard to keep it afloat and I just needed something to give. So I took a break for recording from a little bit and then I just released my episode that Kate like me coming back where I was honest about everything that's been going on and
Mm.
why that is and kind of like I I don't know what the future episodes are gonna be. So if you wanna stick and stick with me, appreciate it. If you're like, "What is this girl going through?" I don't even know what she's saying. Alright, that's fine.
Well, and is the podcast named after the book as well?
No, so the podcast is just Tips with Tony. So for
Tips
the
of Time.
longest time, it was just it was a nutrition podcast, and I always did
Okay.
kind of explore, but I would have guests, but mostly related in the health and wellness field.
Right.
Sometimes entrepreneurship because that's a passion of mine. But more recently, I'm really trying to tap into just like teaching people to be more of their authentic selves
Yes.
and living
Yes.
in alignment and being okay with not being okay and yeah the
Yes.
messy middle all the things that like
Yes.
I think humans go through on a regular basis
Right.
like
The
just be
messy
human.
middle. That is so good. Gosh, that's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah. Well, you
Mm.
you have so much to give and so much to share. And that is clear, when we get to talk, that's clear on your posts on Instagram. You want to serve, and I really love that about you. You have this heart to want to share and to put things out there and have people show up as like you want to, like we all want to, the best versions of ourselves that we can, and that
Yeah.
does involve some awareness, that does involve development, that does involve desire and intention, all those things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're put on this earth to help people. I
Yes.
mean, and it's just finding and there's plenty of people that help people every single day that they don't have a platform, and that's okay. Like, they're
Right.
helping us being a
Yeah.
good mom, they're helping us being a good teacher, they're helping us being a
Yes.
good friend, they're helping us being a pastor, whatever it is, like that. Maybe the pastor's a bad example because they have a platform, but you know what I mean? Like, not
Yeah.
everybody like has, you don't need to like have a pedestal
Right.
to be
Right.
able to do that. But I feel like if you have that on your heart and there's some sort of calling and you've been running from that, it's important for me to speak to that part of you, because that
Right.
is probably why you were put here.
Right.
And
And
when everybody rises to their potential, that's how we make
yes.
this world a healthier and happier place.
I agree with you. And that's, I think, a big drive for this show as well, is wanting you to take that passion, turn it into your purpose, get out there, share it. And yeah, be your full self, be your full colorful self for sure. Well,
Yeah.
Tony, of course, what a delight this has been. I have really appreciated this conversation. Again, find you very inspiring and authentic and transparent and vulnerable, all the words that I love so much. I thank you for showing up in this space, in this place, and sharing just a moment of who you are with us.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being you, and thank you for having this platform.